Welcome to today's session. We're going to be speaking to you about a journey to a modern digital workplace. And so with me, I'm thrilled to announce that we've got our experts in terms of how we deal with our customers around deploying PCs. Dell does 13 million devices a year, and so we've got a lot of feedback from our customers. We wanted to share that with you today. So with us, we have Aaron, we have Derek, and Andreas. Thank you all for joining us today. If I can maybe just start before we get into it is, what are the challenges that we're seeing out there? What are the things that our customers are telling us that potentially we could start today's session with to really understand where does Dell help our customers along the journey? And so maybe Aaron, I start with you since you're closest to me, and we'll go around and get your viewpoint. But Aaron, your thoughts on what are the things that are sort of top of mind when it comes to PC management?
Yeah, thanks, Nima. And can I just first say, super excited to be here, obviously on the panel here along with these two gentlemen and talking about this specific topic, which is actually near and dear to my heart because I've been in this industry for probably 15 years. And a large part of that is being in the EUC space, both from a customer side, as well as obviously from a vendor's perspective. And so I know what the pain points are, been through that for many, many years in sort of deploying, staging and imaging PCs. If you think about, sort of 8 to 10 years ago, the way that we did things was very old school, very traditional. And there were good reasons for that because times that were very different. Users were actually fixed to the desk, and then we're usually in the office as well. Fast forward to now, it's a whole new world that we actually operate in, right? The idea of hybrid working or even remote working a couple of years ago during the cusp of the pandemic really exacerbated the many challenges that a lot of organizations have gone through for many, many years. The idea of spending a whole day just building, imaging, staging PCs, right, is a thing of the past. And so we need to move to a more modern way, and that's where the idea of cloud provisioning or modern provisioning really helps to accelerate that whole process for customers. Now, you also think about challenges around security, right? That's always been a major problem for customers, but that's even more exemplified during the pandemic. Because if you think about now, devices are no longer in the office; they're sort of based at every location. Keeping up to date, keeping them sort of fully managed becomes a bigger problem for organizations. And so end users' expectations in terms of technology and getting access to those things have dramatically changed as well. If you think about our consumer sort of world that we live in, the whole sort of mobile experience that we are accustomed to, right? You go to the phone shop, you can quickly get access to a phone, and get up and running, within a matter of minutes. That's the sort of expectation that a lot of end users now are expecting, inside their corporate environment. In addition, just given the climate that we're in at the moment as well, cash flow as well as budget becomes a huge challenge for our customers today as well. And so when you sort of combine all of those things together, it's actually quite a big thing for our customers having to deal with.
No, absolutely spot on. And I think we hear that from our customers all the time. The cash flow is becoming an issue. It's like, can I spend all this money up front for the, Windows 11 is a big topic right now from a refresh perspective. Are we ready for that investment? So what else? What are we hearing? Derek, your thoughts?
Look, mine's very meat and potatoes. I'd like to take a bit of a direct approach with this. People are people. Within customers, there are people, and people still need to do this work. At the end of the day, we've got some fantastic tools and processes out there, and the technology's advanced so much over the last 5-10 years from where we are. But at the end of the day, someone still has to manage it, someone still has to own it and take accountability for that data. And there's always a person you need to make sure who is on side with the journey, who has to convince an exec to be on side with that journey. That's one key part there, and that's always overlooked. The second part is, this is the time of the power user. So if you look back 10 years ago, everyone was saying, oh, PCs are dead, tablets everywhere, and everyone's going thin. More than ever, the desktop is a big, fat, AI-hungry device that needs lots and lots of power and can do lots and lots of stuff right in front of someone. And those things cost a fair bit of money. So you need to make sure it's managed, you need to make sure it's secure, you need to make sure you've got the right real estate around it to do it, and you've got to make sure that the employee is using that effectively. Lastly, and this is something we also overlook a lot, if you look around this room, a lot of really big screens. The days of having a small screen on a desk are gone. So our customers are saying to us, Dell, we'd like to have a 40-inch screen. We want to have 2 screens on that. We want to manage this on a desk that is massive, but we want as little real estate as possible, and we want one PowerPoint to do it with a really powerful device. And we don't want that to go to missing either, because it's a very expensive device. So all these things come together in a multi-million-dollar situation with lots of devices that are out there with a small budget.
Spot on, Derek, and appropriate if you mentioning where we are today, which is the Customer Solution Center. So really appropriate for us to have this conversation. Throwing it to you, Andreas, what you've just heard from us today, are we pretty spot on, or is there anything else that we're sort of needing to?
No, you're spot on. I think the challenge now comes down to piecing all of this together, right? So it's how do we get the devices to the users? Yes, that's one piece. How do we asset track, or how does the customer asset track those devices? How do they know what needs to be replaced, when does it need to be replaced? Doing more with less from a financial perspective, doing more with less from a people and power on the field and out on the road perspective. These are all the challenges, and I think in all honesty that we've got a very nicely packaged bunch of solutions that we can put together with the customer and step them through a process that's going to get them to a point where it's almost self-managed.
I agree, and we're sort of at an interesting time right now. There's a plethora of devices, looking around the Customer Solution Center. There's the peripherals, there's your big monitors, there's keyboards. There's a lot of solutions out there. How do we sort of, Aaron, maybe put this to you, how do we sort of then bring that together to give our customers a bit more of an easier way to sort of start consuming or sort of packaging together? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, for sure. So this is really where our APEX PC-as-a-Service portfolio comes in to help our customers address all those challenges that we've outlined by sort of simplifying the IT environment for our customers, but doing that in a way where we're able to modernize processes and procedures through leveraging modern technologies that the customer may already have. And then also to add to that, the as-a-service consumption model, which really allows our customers to be super flexible in the way that they consume the latest and greatest technology that they need for their end users. And so starting at the top, if you think about the quickest and easiest way that we found our customers to begin this journey is really around deployment. We've done research and study ourselves to find that, customers these days, they don't want to be in that business of having to build and image and stage PCs, spending, hours and days even that we've seen from many customers that they have to go through. Let Dell take that burden off you, right? Leveraging our factory integration services, we can help speed up that whole process, automate the deployment, and in the process, introduce a greater level of experience for the end users. So that's a great starting point that we see a lot of our customers work with our Dell solutions experts to piece together that solution there. Add to that, the second part of the journey is really around support, right? Once the technology or the devices are out with the end users, you need to have access to support in the event issues arise. And that's where our Dell Pro Support services really comes in, world-class team of experts that we have on the side ready to help our customers. And then lastly, when you think about the subscription model, at the end of the term, what do you do about those assets, right? Having to retire it or recycle it in a sustainable way, that may be goals for many of our customers, and we can certainly help from that perspective as well. Leveraging our asset recycling services, we can help our customers to meet those particular objectives. And so right through that whole process, end to end, if you think about the lifecycle journey, our APEX PC-as-a-Service portfolio is designed to really help our customers solve all of those specific problems.
I'm just going to add to what you've just said there, if that's all right. And that really is that APEX as a service, or APEX PC as a service that we have as an offering, is the base level, right? It's the beginning of the journey for the customer, in my opinion. It's a way for them to also free up funds, okay? Because it realistically has a leasing model that's associated with that as a service, which enables you to actually free up capital. So you'll get an initial saving from going down the PC as a service with APEX point of view. You'll get some deployment services, you'll get some service delivery assistance, you'll get all the support that you require as well. But that's the beginning of the journey, right? So let's look at what else the customers that we've had conversations with, the other challenges they've got and how they can utilise those savings. So you said that's step one, all right? So we've recently had a customer that we've gone down a bit of taken the next step with, and that is with Lifecycle Hub, all right? So a Dell product, which I like to describe it as being, you've got PC personas, as to what type of PCs go to what users. This is services personas. So in my, when I say services persona, I said different challenges that the customers have throughout the life cycle of the PC. They may have a person leave the organisation. How do we get the asset back? How do we do that for them? So we can cater for that side of things. Customer has an issue with the machine and it's going to take a little while to fix. They don't want to be non-productive, so how do we fix that for them? We can ship them an advanced replacement, bring the old one back in, and from that, repair it, put it back into the fleet, ready for reuse. Then you've got joiners. So this is the one that we had the best, right? It was gold. So we customer says we have all these people that are leaving, that are joining the organisation and they're spending X amount of money with us per quarter or whatever it might be. So the Lifecycle Hub was actually introduced to the customer to help save them money because asset tracking was an issue. Right? And feel free to jump over me on this, mate, but I love the way that you pitched it to the customer. Spend less with Dell?
Yep.
Spend less with Dell.
So we came up with the concept, which was pretty straightforward, which is, I think every customer should hear this, is spend less with Dell, which sounds the opposite of what a customer or Dell management would like me to say. But the reality is we don't want customers wasting money on things they don't need. We'd rather they optimize what they do have and they use it effectively. I mentioned before, big devices, big this, big that. They get to know what those devices are, they use them effectively, and they get them to people within the organisation who need them. Not have people sitting around on old devices whilst there's disused devices somewhere else, or new joiners. We have to go out and find $500,000 to buy new equipment, knowing full well that there is a whole bunch of assets somewhere else that could be used.
Yep, that can become the Lifecycle Hub, right? Yeah. That's the customer's next storeroom is Lifecycle Hub. Yeah. Have a new joiner. This is the person's persona from a PC perspective. Do we have one of them in Lifecycle Hub? Yes, we do. But then automating that is part of that journey as well, right? So bringing in the ability for the ITSM product, ServiceNow for an example, following the approval process, getting it through, being able to select a device, knowing it's in Lifecycle Hub, having it shipped to the end user, all ready to go, imaged, asset tagged, all ready for the customer to open it up, and as you said earlier, be like a new mobile phone experience.
So start your day, with the right PC, with everything you need, all the tools and technologies. You touched on it earlier in terms of. So we just talked a little bit about joiners. What about levers? How do you hear that often?
Oh, can I take that one? This is actually my favourite topic on this one. So one of the things that every customer we talk to hates is when people leave. And there's a great slide I've seen. There's a guy leaving, he's got a big smile on his face, and he's carrying his laptop, out the door he goes. And you're like, who is grabbing that laptop off him? Part of the Lifecycle Hub service is we hound those people down and we recover those devices for them. Now, this is actually a Dell method that we do internally as well with our own employees to make sure that we return our devices. We're not getting them to do anything different than what we already do internally at Dell. And it works. It takes the risk off the IT team and the finance team at the customer. We take that burden on for them and we get those devices back in and we wipe them, secure them, and put them into Andreas's Lifecycle Hub where we can get it out to the next person.
Perfect. So it's like a buffer of all the devices that are coming back, ready to go, again, redeployed to whoever's coming in to join, right? Yeah. So,
but the challenge has always been for a customer is like, how do we know when they're leaving? Right, so we plug in with the HR processes. Right, that's the idea. You plug in with what's a natural process for an organisation. So if we plug in at the HR processes,
work data service now. See you later. There's the data.
There's the data. This person's leaving the organisation. This is their final date. Send that information through to Lifecycle Hub to make contact with that person, organise for collection.
You might have noticed through this process as well, we're talking about some names of some technologies and products here. None of these are technologies our customers aren't using. We're not asking people to go and buy any software from someone else. These are the tools that you as a customer already use and that Dell already use internally. We're basically taking our own processes and tools you use and we're optimising and making work better.
Absolutely. I think we're touching on things that absolutely resonate at this point. So we've had joiners, levers. What about the experience of, okay, something's happened to the PC, it's broken and we need to fix it. As part of the Lifecycle Hub, how does that sort of fit in terms of what happens
This is kind of the cool thing, right? Because if you look at our entire ecosystem as a whole, we've got tool sets that are attached to our devices Tech Direct, Support Assist, all those things that can actually proactively alert. And if you have those proactive alerts plugged into your automation system, then we will be able to understand, okay, well, there's a machine that's going to have an issue or has got an issue. We can make proactive contact with that customer's IT department, find out where that device is, capture the information, send an advanced exchange or whatever needs to happen, and help them out that way. So it is a complete loop.
So with the advanced exchange, essentially the end user is getting a PC out of the Lifecycle hub.
Correct.
So they're not down any time, right? And that system then comes back into the hub for us to then fix and repair and ready to go. So that absolutely is a game changer, I think. Hopefully for folks that are hearing this for the first time, there is a solution. We can help, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there trying to do this on a day-to-day basis. Maybe they've got rooms that they put in the old PCs and wait for parts to come in, and maybe this is an offer that could help to automate that. Yeah.
When it comes down to it, people hate downtime. And the biggest IT complaint ever, you can have the best devices, the best this, the most wonderful screens, but if an executive's computer's down for 3 days, that's all you're going to hear about. By having that ready and the peace of mind of having that ready, a lot of problems go away.
Absolutely. And so Lifecycle Hub, I guess we touch on that end to end. You mentioned APEX PC-as-a-Service. So can Lifecycle Hub be consumed as well from that perspective? And can we have some asset recovery and everything else with it at the end of it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you think about the APEX PC-as-a-Service portfolio of solutions, it's highly customizable. It really comes down to what our customers really need, right? And we can kind of shape that solution to suit those needs. We talked about LCH and some of the challenges that can solve. And so, we can essentially customize either of those solutions, the best of LCH in terms of Lifecycle Hub and what it provides, and then the sort of consumption model around the PC to then give our customers an all-encompassing subscription to the service as well as the technology for the users. It's very flexible.
It is good. I'm going to go one more than that. I think working with Dell on this engagement gives our customers an unfair advantage. I know it's a big statement to make, but when you've got this under one roof and you're working with a vendor that does the devices, does the data center, can provide the whole thing as one big holistic managed solution, you've got a lot of options on the table. You don't have to have your APEX on just PC devices. It could be a data center served up via an APEX subscription underneath your client fleet as a VDI, for example, with Lifecycle Hub. So you can spread your finances across lots of things, provide lots of options, and have savings in there to fund across those various buckets. It is an unfair advantage not having to deal with 4 or 5 different vendors to do this.
Yeah.
I think you hit the nail on the head. We will have some slides on this, but obviously having a single vendor should hopefully help save some money as well, right? From a multiple touch perspective, from a multiple shipping perspective, I think single vendors has been proven to actually save some money out there as well. So great point on that. As I think Andrea's touched on this, funds being sort of released and they're starting to see those savings. Yep. Where do we sort of go from there in terms of next steps, right? So we've discussed Lifecycle Hub. Yep. We've spoken about APEX PC-as-a-Service as a starter, off to Lifecycle Hub and managing it so that they don't have to manage it themselves. But are you seeing anything else out there that funds are being utilised for?
I think
this journey?
I think there's a couple of extra steps after this, after Lifecycle Hub. So I think go back to the beginning. APEX as-a-Service, PC-as-a-Service, saving some money up front by utilising leasing rather than capital, right? So you freed up some funds there to begin with. You're then utilising Lifecycle Hub to help maximise the investment of your existing assets, right? So getting the most out of those devices. And freeing up your users, your IT team, right? So they're not having to do the imaging, not having to do the chasing, they're not having to do all that stuff. So it's going to save you some money in that area as well. Next natural step, in my opinion, is what is it from a managed services point of view that can be done next, or from a customer experience point of view that can be done next? And I think customer experience is probably the next natural step, monitoring their customer's experience. But when I say customer, it's not the IT team, it's their customers, right? So the customers' end users. And there's money to be saved there, because if you start monitoring their experience from a device perspective, but also are they getting the right device? That can also potentially save money. And by that I mean, real simply, is the device that the customer's got now the right fit from a hardware perspective? Is it underutilised? Extensively underutilised? Well, then you're probably paying too much for that device for that particular persona of a user. If they're not as productive as they should be, well, they need to step the next one up. Right? But you don't know that unless you're actually monitoring that proactively.
And getting the data that
Getting the
actually gives
data
you the
to do that.
decisions to make
Exactly
those.
right.
Because I'll be the first to say that, you know, whenever my refresh comes up at Dell, I'll be the first to say, look, I need the latest and greatest CPU, I need this video card, but do I really need it? Is there data that shows whether I'm utilizing it or not? And so those, you know, persona sort of assessments, I think, really become critical, because then you can make a decision and say, well, you know what, actually, you don't necessarily need that, and you can save some, you know, time and effort in, I guess, giving the end user the right thing that they need. So that's a big aspect, I think.
Massive.
Yeah, and I just want to underscore the whole user persona discussion. I think, you know, customers probably don't spend enough time kind of understanding who their users are. I think that's a really critical stage that they, you know, need to kind of go through. And, you know, to Andreas' point about PC-as-a-Service helping you to unlock the capital that you quite often may not have to go and undertake those projects like a user persona assessment, which then allows you to fundamentally understand who the users are in your organization. And then, you know, as you mentioned, helping the organizations to save costs, because then you're able to find the right equipment, technology, kitted with the right peripherals, all those sorts of things that we do, you know, great within our CSG portfolio to give their users what they need. And then to further that, I mean, security is always a big thing, right? So again, having a capital available for you to go and undertake a zero trust security strategy, for example, is often, you know, on the customer's priority list, that they may just not know where to begin or may not have funds to go and actually undertake that project. So again, you know, the whole value proposition, PC as a service, giving you capital so that you can go and execute on that IT wish list, you know, sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. No, I think, you know, for us, what I've heard, and I think, Derek, your statement of spend less with Dell, I think resonated with me quite a bit. You know, there's a plethora of devices that are out there, perhaps for way too many employees. Well, not enough employees. Too many devices for not enough employees. So getting our customers, I guess, to look at that. What are the decisions that they're making in order to get the right devices? I think, you know, that, and Andreas, to your point, we're sort of a one-stop shop, right? I think at the end of the day, we're saying single vendor, it does save money. Having that unfair advantage with Dell to suggest that, you know, we can take you through that journey end to end. Any sort of thoughts in terms of where a customer can start with us in having these conversations?
I was about to exactly go down that path.
It took me a while to get there, but that's where I was going.
No, it was gold. It was gold.
Thank you, sir.
I think, well, this is the good part, right? It's where most customers' journey started. Well, how do we build a plan? Okay, so we do have an offering. It doesn't cost the customer anything, thankfully. It's a fee-waived engagement. So we can sit down with the customer for half a day and work it out. Let's work out where the current pain points are. Let's work out what the current biggest priorities are. And then we'll put forward what we see as a best practice. It doesn't have to be that, but at least it gets all of us in a room at one point in time. It gets multiple divisions within the organisation in the room at the one time, and a third-party neutral, being us, to sit down and say, well, okay, do we have agreement that these are the highest priorities? Do we have agreement that these are the projects that we need to undertake? And then we start mapping that out to, you know, the customer's actual principles and where they want to be at the end. So yeah, we can build a plan with the customer. We can show them throughout what those savings would be as well. It's a great starting point.
Excellent. So it's sort of like an as is and to be, so we can take them through that journey of where you are today, where do you want to go, and how do we help you across that journey? And what would you recommend, Derek, as to the sort of next steps?
The best thing about this is the customer already knows that. Sure. So you'll never have a customer say, you know what, I think everything's fine, I should just keep doing what I'm doing. They know they've got pain points, and if the management at the top level don't know, the individuals doing it do know. So straight away you talk about that. What are your costs? What is your employee NPS around your devices? What's your utilisation? Once you uncover and have those discussions, it opens right up into this. Yep. We're going to find a way of reducing your cost, improving your outcomes, improving your employee satisfaction, and simplifying your work.
I think that's a great point. I think, you know, Aaron, you touched on that consumer experience. I think everybody, you know, people are people. We want that experience. We just want something to work straight off the bat, and we don't want that downtime. Any last thoughts in terms of where, you know, a customer could start this conversation with us and where we can help?
Yeah, look, I mean, you know, as Andreas and Derek pointed out, I think it's just kind of understanding those challenges that exist today within your environment, and then prioritising what those challenges are. It could be very easy as, hey, I need to speed up the deployment of devices to my end users because they're spread everywhere. right? That's just a typical use case that we run into all the time across, all customer sizes. And so that's a great starting point. So it's just understanding what those are, prioritizing, and then sit with us. We'll help you through sort of piecing together those solutions in the most cost-effective way. And the way that we do that, we can leverage the subscription model.
So I wanted to thank again Andreas, Derek, and Aaron for today's session. Thank you all for your time, but please stick around. There will be a QR code that's appearing on the screen. Please make sure you fill out that survey. We're going to give you an opportunity to win. There's going to be 30 of these Lego sets, so please put in your survey. We really appreciate that. And do stick around for the Q&A, as these experts will be online to answer your questions should you have any. Looking forward to your questions. Thank you again. Appreciate it.